Welcome back to Windsong Intuition. Today we're going to do something a little different. I mentioned this in my introduction video that I am planning on doing a walkthrough of this deck, the Millennium Tarot, and this is a deck that I've had for almost 12 years now, I believe. And I am going to be working off of notes, so I'm going to be referring to them periodically. The reason I want to do this video for this particular deck is because I haven't seen anybody do any kind of a video on it, any kind of a review or a walkthrough. I haven't seen anybody use it in any of their videos. I also haven't seen really anybody show it in their collections when they've done a video of their collections. And if you look online, you will only see, I believe there's 2 reviews that were released somewhere around 2007. I think they're blog reviews. And so I think it's really interesting with all the decks that I see out there and people who have hundreds of decks that they show in their collection, that you just don't see this one. So this one I purchased around 2007, but the original copyright is for 1994. This is right here, Viewpoint Studios. In 1994, what they released were the major arcana, and then, well, almost 10 years later, around 2002, they finally released the minor arcana. This is an out-of-print deck. This is what I would call a rare out-of-print deck. They're no longer selling it. The website is still up. This website here, www.millenniumtarot.com. You can still go on it, but you can't purchase the deck anymore. You might be able to find it on eBay, but it's going to be one of those that's really expensive, $75, sometimes even $150. But when I purchased it, I only paid, I want to say maybe $25 for it. So I don't use it very often. I got it because when I looked at it online, the imagery just looked like gold embossing to me. And then when I got it, it just didn't resonate with me the way I thought it would. And I've considered passing it on to somebody else over the years, and then I thought about keeping it, and you'll see when I open it up that it's got square edges, and I thought about rounding the corners, and that was before I found out it was an out-of-print deck. So now that I know that it's an out-of-print deck, I won't be modifying it at all, and I'll be trying to keep this box preserved. I may make an additional box to go around it to keep it in, just like I did with my Universal Weight deck. I originally saw this on the Eclectic Tarot site, which is eclectic.net, and I believe that it redirected me to Amazon to purchase it. This is also known as Dorothy Krause's tarot, and that's Krause. The other thing that kind of turned me off on this when I purchased it, at the time I was fairly new and I was reading strictly intuitively, and this is a pip deck. And when they show a few sample cards online, they didn't show any pip cards, so I didn't realize that until I purchased it. But I would suggest, if you're fairly new or that you're an intuitive reader, I've started looking at pip decks a little differently now. To me, they're pushing me to want to broaden my horizons and to expand my knowledge base. And even though I still read intuitively, I still want to know those traditional meanings. And having decks around that you like and want to get to know and want to read with really makes you, pushes you to do that. So I'm just referring to my notes here. Bear with me. Let's see, so the creator was Dorothy Simpson Krause, and the photographer was Jan, and I'm going to mispronounce her name, Doucette. It's Doucette. And it says on the website the photos of Linda Seraphin's performance art. Lisa Padovano assisted in the production, and Marina Dubois wrote the interpretations for the minor, I believe. And Mary Taylor assisted in some way. If you go on the website, that all these people are listed. The book has 98 pages with the images. Let's see here if there's anything that I'm missing before I open it up. Oh, one of the things that was another reason I haven't really used it is my Knight of Swords came messed up already. I forget because I don't use this deck. I'll open it up and I think there's something on it, and there's nothing on it. It's actually underneath the clear coating. So I don't know if that makes it more valuable because it's got a little mistake in it. What's really interesting is that some of the cards I would say you could definitely see a Rider-Waite-Smith basis for, and others definitely do not. And I believe this had to do with a museum, or a museum curator at some point was part of the production, and that's why they used it was classic art and classic sculptures. So we'll go ahead and open her up and I'll show you here. And I've already got them in order. I'll put the box right here. So these are the backs, and when I first saw them online, this really looked detailed and embossed. So here's the artist cards here. And this is the book. I'm not sure what that's all about. I don't know if that was a mistake or if it was meant to be there. And it's a nice book. It goes into detail, goes into what they call the mundane meaning and the reverse meaning. It's got, you know, the images of the cards in it. So that's a nice, what we would call a little white book. It's not white, but it's still a little white book. So, okay. Somehow my fool ended up in the back. Alright, so this one is one of the cards that it doesn't say Fool to me. I would almost want to put this as the Magician or even the Hierophant because of the red. But this one doesn't say Fool to me, but it's a nice image. It's most of these are kind of monochromatic in the gold tone, so it's nice to have the bit of color in there. This is the Magician, and I probably would have put her as the High Priestess, but that's just me. I didn't create the deck. And you can barely see the number up there, the Roman numeral. This is the High Priestess. And the Empress. And this is where you start seeing some of the statues. The Emperor. The Hierophant. The Lovers. Chariot. And I do like this one. Justice. And see, like I said, some of them do make sense when you're looking at traditional meanings. Hermit. I don't know if I would have kept the red in there or not, but Wheel of Fortune, and I like this one. Strength. You can barely see, but there is a lion in there. I don't know if it will pick it up or not. Hangman. Death. Temperance. Now this is one of the ones that I definitely do see temperance when I look at this one. As you can see, that's what they used for their book. Devil. Tower, and that one definitely, you could definitely see that one's the Tower for sure. Star. Now this one, for some reason, I don't see star when I look at, I don't know if there's something about the fact that they used a child that, and I do like the sun card, but when I see a child in it, I want to think sun instead of star, but with the third eye there glowing, it kind of helps it make it the star, but I don't know, for some reason I just never connected with this particular card because I felt like the child should have been in a different, used for a different card. Moon. Sun. And see, even though you could see that this is a youthful person, it's not a child. Judgment. World, and I like this for the world. So then we're going to start getting into the minor arcana, and you'll see what I'm talking about. One of the things is that the color system that they use, because they are color coded, you can kind of see here that they're color coded. I didn't necessarily agree with how they color coded them. They made swords red. I probably would have made the wands red. And they made the pentacles purple. I probably would have made them green instead of the wands. And then for the cups, instead of using something like blue, they used the same coloring that they did for the major arcana. So that made it kind of confusing. And I'm going to flip through these kind of fast because they're kind of similar, except for that they'll just 1, 2, and 3. And when you start getting into the higher numbers, it starts making it a little more difficult. You know, you really have to be up to date on your Roman numerals, because you can, just glancing at it, you could think it's a different card than what it is. And I don't particularly like that aspect of it. And you see they added the wand here to the statue. And I like the background with the map in the back. Now the cups, I like how they stand out against the black and the gray background. But again, if you're not a pip deck reader, you know, if you're trying to read intuitively, it would make it kind of difficult unless you knew what the Four of Cups stood for. And I have to wonder what took them almost 10 years to come out with these. I don't know if it was just a delayed decision, or if they, you know, were so much in demand and people were just really asking for it, or what. But and I do like that for the page and the knight and the king and the queen, that they did pick statues that, like, the page is younger, the knight is a young man, and the king is a little bit older. As you can see, there's not much to the actual minor arcana. And this is the one, if I'm not mistaken. Is it this one? I'll have to look back and see if I can find which one it was. I haven't been paying attention to which one it was that has the mistake on it. Now, I'm gonna get on my soapbox a little bit about the way the pentacles were done. So you can see the ace here has got the circles right here, but this is the one that's got the pentacle in it, so that's the ace. And then you have the 2 and the 3, and that kind of makes it confusing because they kept the other circles there. And then you start, much like the other ones, they start adding, and unless you're really being careful to make sure in the reading that you're counting them out or paying attention to the Roman numeral, it's very easy to make a mistake and think that maybe that's a 7 and not the 6. Especially when you start getting higher up into the numbers. So it would have been nice if they'd kind of stuck with the traditional using the Roman numerals for the majors and then switching over to the more Arabic style numbers that we're used to seeing for the minor. And one of the reasons I didn't use this deck very often was because I was afraid of boxing the corners. Like I said, there's the one that's messed up right there. I don't know if you can see. It almost looks like I laid it in some flour while I was cooking or something. And I kept trying to scratch at it, but there's nothing. It's underneath the coating. But yeah, I've been afraid of boxing in the corners by shuffling, so I don't use it very often because of those square edges. But I have done a few readings with it, and like I said, maybe it's just I haven't connected with it. This deck can, I think it would be good for shadow work. It's not a soft and friendly deck. One of my friends said that to her it felt like a very powerful deck, that you'd get a lot of powerful readings out of it. But I'm really glad that I have it now that I know that it's a rare out-of-print deck, and I'm a collector of decks, so I really like knowing that I have something that you're just not going to see everywhere. And maybe now, if you're a collector of decks as well and you've seen this, you can be on the lookout for it and add it to your collection. So like I said, I believe eBay, you can still get it on eBay. But if you happen to see this deck and you're a collector and you see it for a good price, I would definitely say jump on it, because you can't get this deck anymore. So I really hope that you enjoyed seeing the walkthrough of this deck, and like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. The walkthroughs and reviews and first impressions is going to be part of my channel, and I hope you really enjoyed taking a look at this deck. That I know you're not going to find a video out there for it, so this will be the only video that you can see it. So I hope you all have a really great day, and come back and join me on my channel.